Hi, everybody. I'm Melissa Johnson. Welcome back to the E3 podcast. Today I have Melaine Dupuis, and she is from Canada, and she is going to talk to us about all kinds of awesome stuff. I'm really interested in hearing about this apartment investing that you're doing. It sounds very exciting. So would you like to tell us a little bit about you and what you're up to and kind of your journey so far in real estate?
Great. Thanks so much for having me here today. I specialize in buying multifamily properties using none of my own money and without joint venture partners. So I'm a full-time real estate investor. I buy apartment buildings, and the reason I'm able to grow fairly quickly is because I do leverage other people's money through various creative financing strategies such as owner financing or promissory notes, or using RSPs, for example, which is the same as 401k for those in the States, to help leverage the properties.
Awesome. So how long have you been doing that?
Yeah, so I've been a real estate investor probably for, over 10 years now. And I started the traditional way of using my own money to buy properties. But the reality is doing it that way is a very slow process because you can only come up with so much money. 20% down to buy properties over and over again is very difficult. So at best, Dave and I, my husband and I, we could maybe buy at best one property a year. And we were doing that for quite a while and slowly building our portfolio. And then we're actually on our family trip with 3 kids, and we were listening to Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, and it completely changed our mindset about debt and leveraging. And we realized, wow, if we learn how to properly use debt to our advantage, it's going to change our lives. And that's exactly what we did. The next year, we ended up buying 12 properties in less than 12 months. That was 56 units. And I was able to quit my full-time job the year after. And then Dave was able to quit shortly after as well.
That is really impressive. So prior to being a real estate investor, what were you doing? What got you into that?
Yeah, so I used to work at our local college here. And I just knew that I wanted more. I knew that I wanted to not work 9 to 5 for somebody else. I just wanted more of that time freedom. I mean, of course, money is great as well, but a big piece for me was that time freedom to spend more time with my kids, see my little guy get on the school bus and get off the school bus. And after a while, I realized that even when I was off on vacation, I'd have that anxiety the Sunday night about having to go back to work. And I thought, wow, I'm dreading Mondays. What an awful feeling. And I thought to myself, if I can buy real estate at a quicker pace than I was, because we were always kind of into it a little bit, then I could be financially free and quit my full-time job.
Wow. And there's that's the best part about real estate, right? Especially as a mom, because I've got 5 kids, so I get it. But when it's so there's just something so great about the freedom of real estate, the freedom that real estate gives you, that you can spend that time with your kids. That's my favorite thing too. I love taking my kids to school and being able to pick them up and be there for all their little, sporting events and all that kind of stuff without that whole oh, I gotta get off. I gotta ask my boss if I can get off work early and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's that flexibility. And hey, I'm going to check my emails throughout the weekend, but I'll have that with coffee while the kids are playing. And I just feel it's such a way more balanced life than I could if I was still working. And I mean, now, mind you, of course, there is that transition piece, right, where you're still working full time and you're in acquisition mode. So, hey, that year when we bought 12 and 12, we got up early before the kids were up to look at deals and grow our business and all that. So did we sacrifice during that year to make it happen? Yes. We got up, and then as soon as the kids were in bed, then we'd go to bed as well, because the next day we'd want to get up early to work on our business before the kids would get up, because once they're up at 6:30, then it's kid time, right? It's breakfast and routine and school buses and all that.
That's a good system to have. So I like that you're able to work with your spouse. I know a lot of people that get into this business do that. So how has that been for you guys? How do you kind of like delegate, separate, all that kind of stuff? What does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, and I think it was a work in progress. So when we started off, we used to do pretty much everything together, right? We would analyze deals together. We were hands-on with everything. And then we quickly came to realize that for both of us doing the same thing all the time, well, that's double the time. So what we ended up doing is we realized what, we both enjoy, not enjoy doing, and what we're good and not quite as good at perhaps as well. And just dividing based on that. So Dave loves numbers. He loves business structure and taxes and analyzing deals. So he'll be the one that does more of the acquisitioning part. I love social media. I love public relations. So I'll work more on that side of the business. So we just really divide and conquer based on our likes and dislikes, which works out really well. And I think for us, it's really the fact that we trust each other's decision making. So I won't ever doubt if he's like, hey, I put an offer in on this place. Awesome. I know he did his due diligence. I know that he reviewed the numbers, and same with, hey, if I decide to do whatever, on public relations side or marketing side, that he won't second guess me either.
That's nice. I think it's nice to have like those clearly defined roles too, right? That way, like you're running in your lane and I'm running in my lane, and you're not getting crossed up. Because I think that happens a lot too when couples work together. Before my divorce, my husband and I worked together for a while, or for years actually. And there was a lot of that kind of overlapping sort of stuff that I think complicated things a little bit. So I think knowing, like you said, like knowing where you're strong and you're weak and taking and running with those things is really smart, and probably will help in the long term, keep things going smoothly in the long run. Right.
Yeah. And it's just nice to have that extra person to brainstorm with, right? If I'm stuck or doing this, hey, what do you think about this? And although it's not his lane, he'll give me his opinion on it, and vice versa as well, of course.
Yeah, that's nice. So tell me about your first deal, your first apartment buying that you did.
Yeah, so this was prior to Dave. I thought I knew that I could get some extra funds just from getting into real estate, which I thought, hey, why not invest in real estate? So I purchased a property, and I was pretty excited about it. It was a single dwelling home, and I purchased it, and my intention was to convert it into a duplex, or essentially have a granny suite downstairs that I would rent out. So that's exactly what I ended up doing. So purchased the property, rented the upstairs, and then downstairs converted it into a granny suite, put a kitchen and all that into it because it was down to the studs, and everything went really well. It was a great, beautiful little house, and I thought I did everything really well, and I was really excited. In between, I had purchased a couple more, and until all of a sudden, out of nowhere, one day I get a letter from the city saying that, because it was reappraisal time. So I had just got that lift where I can get my money out and do it all over again. But as part of the appraisal, they contacted the city to make sure that it was properly zoned. And I didn't realize, because you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't realize that it wasn't legally zoned. Which means that I either had to try to get it legally zoned, and given where it's situated and all that, I think the chance of that happening would have been really difficult, or I had to convert it back and sell it. So that's what I ended up having to do. So I had to convert it back.
Oh no.
Into a single dwelling. And at that time, then it just didn't make financial sense to keep it. From revenue expense, return on investment just didn't make sense. So I ended up having to sell it. So I lost a little bit of money with that one, or broke even, just around there. And I ended up selling it. So at first I was very devastated because my first one, and I thought I knew what I was doing. And I had trusted, I think, the agent a little bit too much. I'm not pointing fingers at her whatsoever. It was my own. I should have checked, but again, you don't know what you don't know. And now that's certainly something that we, of course, always make sure. But I think that's the thing with real estate, is that you're going to have some struggles at some point, and some days you're going to want to give up, and some, like anything in life, some days are really good and some days are more difficult. But I think I'm so glad that I didn't let that one bad experience stop me from acquiring more properties.
For sure. And one thing too about this business is, like, you're always learning something, right? Like there's always, like, even I've been doing this for 18 years, and I still learn stuff, like the same thing. Like what was the lesson you probably got out of that? We'll probably check your zoning for, you know, moving forward from the next property, you know, make sure that's squared away. But there's always something to learn, I think, from every deal that you do, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? The more, and you're going to have different kind of problems as you grow, as you get more and more units, and it's just going through that, and it's just really being determined that, hey, whatever roadblock I have, I know that I'll be solution driven, and I'll find a solution to it.
I love that. I love being a problem solver.
Yeah.
There's plenty of problems in real estate to solve, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
So how many like complexes do you guys own right now?
Yeah, so we like buying multifamily properties. So now we're over 200 apartments now.
Wow.
Purchased quite a few last year. We purchased 119 apartments last year. So that was our biggest year of acquisitioning. And even now we just closed on an eightplex. We just firmed up on $1 million deal that will be closing in the near future as well. So and again, we're able to do so because we always use creative financing to fund the deals.
That's so smart. And I think you might be the first person I've ever talked to. I don't deal with multifamily myself, but I have a lot of friends and people that I know that do. And I don't think I've ever heard of anybody leveraging private money so much to buy stuff. Usually it's like syndication and things like that.
Mhm. For us, we had made the decision early on in our relationship that we really wanted to solely own. We want to solely own, which meant we get to keep 100% of the cash flow, 100% of the appreciation, 100% of the equity, and 100% of the decision making as well. So Dave and I, the only guy I have to talk to when it comes to decision time on, hey, do we flip it? Do we sell it? Do we refinance? Do we do this? Do we do that? It's just between Dave and I, and we really wanted to make sure to pass it on to the kids. So we don't have anything against joint ventures or those kind of syndications and whatnot. We just wanted to solely own. And we were told the same thing, like, you won't be able to grow this way. It's not being done. And I'm here to say, absolutely, yes, it can be done. You just need the right systems and the right strategy. And part of the strategy is knowing your exit strategy as well, right? Knowing how you're going to be paying back the people before you get into the deal, of course.
Yeah. So I use private money also. I don't do multifamily, but all my single family properties that I do, I've used nothing but private money for 18 years. So yes, it can be done. And now I'm really tempted to try that with a multifamily, maybe.
Right. Nice.
Very
Yeah.
inspiring. So tell me, how do you, like, I love systems and processes. So obviously with a business like this, you've got to have that kind of stuff in place. What does that look like for you guys? Like, how do you manage so many properties, especially with just the two of you in the
Yeah.
business? Do you have a team, or do you
We
delegate
do,
this
and
out?
that's exactly it. It's not just the two of us. There's no way that we could continue to grow as well, because we have a large mentoring program as well. So we're doing that as well. So yeah, we got really, really good at creating systems and strategies and having a large team. So when it comes to our tenants, for example, yes, we have a property manager. We have virtual assistances, multiple. Well, I think we have 3 now. Virtual assistances. We have a full-time financial controller. We have a construction, right? So it's just really being able to remove yourself from the tasks that either you don't really enjoy or that you're not good at, in order to continue to grow. Because otherwise, there's no way I could do it all. And Dave and I. So really finding the right teams and having systems in place, for tracking and okay, what's a good vacancy rate, or what do we do with this? And this happens, and this, I guess, having KPIs in place, right? So these are the standards. These is what I expect by the end of the day that this person has completed, and ensuring that it gets done.
Awesome. So you said you bought so many properties last year. Was it 119
apartments? Yeah.
Apartments last year.
Yeah.
So I know that was a difficult time for a lot of people with COVID and everything happening and stuff. How were you able to do that?
I think we just really made the choice that, hey, if at the end of the day, this is real estate, and people will always need a place to live. And I think we made the decision that we're not going to wait for that perfect time. We see so many real estate investors, they're waiting for the perfect time. Is there going to be a crash? There's not going to be a crash. I'm going to wait for this. And while people are waiting, we decided, hey, let's take some action. And some of these deals we've been working on for a while quite as well. So some of them were bigger units that were kind of in the works for a couple of years. And I think that was really just a mindset piece, which I talk a lot about mindset as well, because as a real estate investor, it's not just about the numbers. It really is that mindset and not letting that fear and making sure that we did the numbers again strategically, right? So interest rates are not going to always be as low as they are now. Okay, well, when you calculate deals, have them higher. So that way, when they do go up, someday they will, you're still cash flowing. So that was really a big part of it for us, was not trying to wait for the perfect time. Hey, and if there is a crash, then we're going to buy even more properties. So it's just really realizing that it's time in the market as a real estate investor, especially for us, because we are buy and hold. We're not flippers. We don't although we've sold a few of our properties, but overall our strategy is to buy and we hold it, which means you're not selling it. It's a long-term strategy.
Awesome. So, can you hear that?
Yes.
Hold 1 second. Okay. So, I'm curious to know, how are you finding these deals?
Yeah, so we love finding, our mindset is the more deals you look at, the better. Real estate, it's a numbers game essentially, and you want to look at as many deals as you can, because then you're just increases your chances. So we love working with an investor focused agent and also finding off market deals as well. So it's a combination of both. Like when we bought 12 properties in 12 months, 8 of them were not listed anywhere. So finding off market deals, letting people know that we're looking for apartments, using social media, all that kind of stuff, and letting people know and attracting these kind of deals. And the more you do it, of course, naturally, the more people will know and will reach out to you as well.
Yeah, that's one thing I tell like my clients and stuff too that I'm coaching, is just to like tell everybody what you're doing, talk about it wherever you're at, whoever you're around, because you just never know, right? Who knows somebody who might know somebody, or, I think like referrals are a huge source of deals for us, just word of mouth kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
think that's important to just keep having that conversation all the time. So I have a couple of investor friends up in Canada, and this could have changed maybe recently, I don't know, but they say there's a lot of trouble like getting data on owners, actually finding people. I don't like, skip tracing is not very easy to do up there. Is that
Yeah.
true?
Yeah. So finding the owners, I mean, if it's listed, even then, I mean, you're going to work with an agent because it's listed for a reason. So yeah, so finding the owner's name is more difficult, especially if it's bigger buildings. Often they're in corp numbers and whatnot, and approaching tenants. Some tenants don't want to pass on your information to them because they're scared, right? They don't know what kind of landlord you're going to be. And all of that. But we've had a lot of luck throughout, and I guess I shouldn't call it luck. I think we were very consistent. It's just, again, this is where you'll need to use your social media and let people know, because then the word does get around that, hey, we're buying properties and we are serious investors, because we are, and people will start reaching out more and more, especially as you start growing and people see, okay, they're not just they're not just pretending to be buying. They actually are serious about buying properties and whatnot, and just letting people know. But yeah, it is true that it's more difficult to find the information. Sometimes we've had some deals. There was one property that we ended up finding because we just happened to be, Dave happened to be driving by the property and saw a gentleman outside and was doing some work and thought, maybe it's the owner, and he just decided to stop and speak with the owner, and then we ended up doing an owner finance deal.
Wow, that's awesome. So take action, right?
Absolutely. Take some action and get used to hearing some no's. It doesn't work for everyone, especially if you are interested in this creative financing. It's not going to work for everyone. Some people want to do it because it benefits them, and some people don't because they don't feel it will benefit them, and that's okay. It's just a matter of exactly taking action, not stopping at your first no, and just continuing to keep taking action until you get that first yes.
That's important. I think a lot of people give up. I mean, because it is hard, right? It is hard to get those deals. And I imagine with apartment complexes, it's a lot more complex.
Yeah, complicated.
Because it's not like a homeowner, where you can just like, if you can't, like we can skip trace, but you could still go knock on the door, and likely somebody's going to answer the door. With apartments, you can't really do that, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Wow. I still am trying to wrap my head around using that creative financing. So like, when you're doing, so are you doing like, are you getting a lot of private money to buy these deals, or are you having the owners finance you, or is it a combination of those things?
Combination, owner financing for sure. We do a lot of owner finance deals. We
Mhm.
love owner finance deals, so that works really, really well. But if the owner's not willing to fund the deal or part of the deal, then, and if it's a good deal, then we're definitely not going to stop there. So that's where we would use either promissory notes, which for those listeners who are new to this concept, essentially is a contractual agreement with a person where you pre-lay out the terms and the interest rate and all that. And otherwise, we use a lot of secured funds as well. So for Canadians, that would be TFSAs or RSPs, and for those in the States, it would be 401k, for example.
Okay. So with the, like when you're structuring an owner finance deal, are you presenting the terms to them, or is that like a negotiation process? Like
Yeah,
how do you structure that? Is there a balloon at the end, or do you carry that note out or refinance it down the road?
honestly, every deal is different. And I think that's the important thing as an investor, is that you probably shouldn't have always the same thing every single time, because
Agreed.
every deal is going to perform differently. If it's an amazing deal and the owner is not overly motivated to sell, and I see the bigger picture, hey, I might offer a little bit higher interest rate than another deal that it's okay, but it's not a cash cow, right? Where you know that you can refinance, get this huge lift. So I rather look at each deal individually, find out as well, speaking with the owner, trying to find out what's important to them. Are they looking to close this year? Some people maybe they sold the property already and they don't want to have two in 1 year for tax purposes. They want to wait till next year. Okay, well, maybe that can be part of the negotiation. So just having that conversation and making it a win-win. We used to try not to, we used to want to be the solely people winning, right? Having that best price and feeling like, okay, yes, I got an amazing deal. And then we realized that that was actually costing us money, because we ended up losing out on some good deals because we were so focused on maybe getting that 10K under listing price and whatnot, and we didn't end up closing. And if it was a good deal, well, bigger picture, the cost of opportunity could have been hundreds of thousands, right, of appreciation throughout the year. So now we are very much focusing on win-win, because bigger picture, a lot of owners that have one property, especially in the multifamily world, they have more than one property. And if I can make a win-win for one of their buildings, then guess what? Who are they going to want to sell the next property to? And that's what we do now. So we have a lot of repeat customers, whether it is owner financing or promissory notes, that do it over and over again with us.
I love that. That's such a great strategy.
Thank you.
Are you doing any single family anymore, or is it strictly multifamily now?
No, we still have, I think, only the one that we're just keeping, just because it's a low maintenance, which is a nice thing about single dwelling. So we're still hanging on to that one, but no, we're mostly bigger units now.
Great. And then, so what is your plan with all those? Is it legacy building thing, for your family, or what does that look like for your big picture for down the road for your business?
Yeah, I mean, definitely wanted to pass that on to our kids, which is really important to us to do that for our kids, and leave that legacy behind and have that portfolio. So if something happens, Dave and I, that they know exactly, they have the portfolio, they're financially secured as well. And when it comes to even sharing information and all that, Dave and I, we never used to be on anywhere on social media, and now we have a very strong presence all over social media. But we used to not tell anyone how to do this. I never would have been seen on a podcast ever. And we really had the scarcity mindset. When we bought 12 properties in 12 months, we were not telling anyone how we were doing this. Even my own mom had asked me, like, are you winning the lottery? Like, how are you buying all these deals? And it really was, I didn't want to tell anyone because I was just scared that if somebody found out. And then in 2018, we're on our way to a real estate investing conference, and we got in a horrific car crash on a highway. It was caused by a careless transport driver that hit a vehicle that hit us, and we literally rolled 4 times across the highway. We
Oh my
landed upside
gosh.
down, almost died, and it was a day that forever changed our lives for many, many reasons, including, of course, as we're rolling and thinking that my kids, I'm never going to see my kids again, and all of that, and afterwards having the conversation, thinking like, okay, we have these properties, but that's it. Like, that's what we left behind. And there's no documentation for my kids on how to do this because I have such a scarcity mindset. So that weekend we ended up still going to the conference. We decided to write a book. We started a mentoring program, and that was kind of the reason behind leaving a bigger legacy, is to help other people. Because one thing I know for sure, there's definitely nothing special about Dave and I and the results that we've gotten, and anybody can do this, but they need the right resources, they need knowledge, and they need to be willing, of course, to take that action.
Absolutely. That's really inspiring. Isn't that crazy how something like that'll happen? Just like it takes one major life event to just change the trajectory of everything, right?
Everything. And I was still working back then, and I could have financially quit my job, but I think I was probably scared. Fear holds people back quite a bit, and
Yeah.
like approved and all that. And after I was off, I had a severe concussion, so I was off for a while after the accident. And as I was healing, I was thinking about going back to work, and I felt just physically ill about going back to work. I'd have anxiety, like I just didn't want to spend one more day of my life doing something that I didn't love. And Dave's like, you're not going back.
Mhm.
And that was it. And I quit my full-time job. And so after the accident, again, I wasn't planning on, I knew that someday I was going to quit my job. But that was a day that, again, I just didn't want to spend one more time doing what I didn't love. And what's awesome about investing is that I love Mondays now. I'm excited about Mondays. And it gives me that flexibility. So it's as horrific as the car crash was, and scary, and I don't like to think about it because it was such a traumatic event. I feel that it also happened for a reason, for us to be able to help other people, and even for the push that I needed to make me realize, hey, you know what, just leave and do what you like, so that way you can enjoy your life and your kids' life at the fullest.
Yeah, I love that. So for people listening, don't wait for a traumatic event to happen in your life. Take the action now. I remember that's how I got started too, like full time, because I was working part time, and then um, my um, my fiance, who became my husband at the time, but he got laid off about 2 weeks before our wedding.
Oh,
And we had been part-time investing. And when that happened, I was all stressed out, like, what are we going to do? We're about to get married and this and that. And he was just like, no, I need this. Like, I'm not going to go get another job. We're just going to do this full time, And so he went first, and then I followed shortly after. But yeah, it was like those critical moments, where you have this decision. It's like a turning point moment, right?
yeah.
And
It's
it's,
common because we both had that fear as well, right? Are we making the right
yeah,
decision? And fear
yeah.
fear is so real, and it's so normal,
It
and
is. And
you're
it's hard to walk away from that security of the job, right? Because it's like, oh, we have insurance with a job and a steady paycheck, and the work it's boring, but it's not difficult to do. It's just kind of like you can continue coasting along in that life, or you can make the change and take the leap and overcome that fear, which is so hard to do, I think, for a lot of people. That it's because it is scary.
it's scary. Yeah.
It is scary. But, one thing I've learned, and I'm sure you have too, is, and I heard you say it kind of earlier, is like when you're afraid, when you have a plan, it makes it so much easier to kind of push through that fear, instead of just jumping and not having a plan at all. Yeah, that's scary as heck. But when you have a plan, there's a little bit of of a safety feeling there, like, okay, well, if this plan doesn't work, I have this backup plan and this backup plan and this backup plan, all towards the same goal, but multiple ways of getting there if you need it, right?
Absolutely. And the thing is as well is that look at the full picture, because although doing this, right, leaving the job and leaving my pension behind, my benefits and my good salary, and same with Dave, he used to be a full-time professional firefighter, and leaving the jobs behind was scary. But when we actually looked at it, doing something that you don't love every single day and letting time goes by and not enjoying your life, that's pretty scary as well, right? And although it doesn't seem quite as scary because it's not forcing you to do something different, you're into that routine. But when you really reflect, that's scary as well, spending your life doing something that you don't love. That it's kind of scary to me. I didn't want to feel that way anymore.
Yeah, I think that's where gratitude comes into play too, because I still to this day am so grateful for what I do, that I can be at home, that I can do these things. And there are times where I will look back and I'll think what it was like to sit in the cubicle in the office, and have to report to somebody and have to be at work at a certain time and leave a certain time and eat lunch at a certain time. And you only get the 2 weeks of vacation time. And I still think about those things. And it's been a really long time since I've had to do that, but it really makes you appreciate having taken that risk and followed that dream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So you said you have 3 kids?
3 kids, yeah.
How old are they?
15, 12, and 6.
Okay. So are they into real estate at all? Are they interested in what you guys are doing or have any
Yeah,
leaning toward that?
they're not sure what they want to do yet. But what's really interesting is that because we're always in it, I mean, we naturally talk about it. They've looked at some properties with us before, right? We talk real estate, it's just natural. And they understand certain concepts, right? I mean, even my little guy, even when we this year we couldn't because of COVID, but even my younger guy, when he was like, let's say 4 or 5, like he understand, we'd go on trips and it's like, mom and dad didn't pay for this, the properties did. So he understands the investor mindset and realizing that. And my daughter, my oldest daughter, she loves horses and she's thinking maybe she wants to do something with horse camp or that type of thing. And she's like, but mom, I think I'm going to buy some properties first, and that's going to help fund the all the expenses for the farm and the animals and the vet bills and all that kind of stuff. So whether or not she wants to be a full-time real estate investor like I am, I don't know yet. But I think it's the mindset that she realizes that even if this is not something you want to do full time, just by having these assets, like it's going to enable her to be able to do whatever it is she wants in life, whether that career makes a lot of money or not, she'll be able to do the things that she really enjoys doing.
Right. And that's the best part, is being able to pursue your passions.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything else that you're into and interested in other than real estate that has allowed you to do?
Yeah, I guess honestly, it's just a lot of time with the kids. We have a pool at home and we have a cottage, so we spend a lot of time at the lake as well. So just being able to have that flexibility, spend time together, have fun, whether we live in Northern Ontario, so in winters here it's we're snowmobiling, and in the summer then it's boating time. So just being able to enjoy being outdoors and the time with my kids while they're still young, and those kind of activities.
I love that. I'm still trying to get my kids into real estate. Gently, of course, but
Exactly. Yeah, just being around it, right? They'll get to know the language and debt and good debt and all those things as well.
yeah, I've seen them play at it before and it's actually kind of cute.
Yeah.
They'd have little meetings and stuff, and we have to buy tile today, and they'd have little samples and stuff out. Or now that they're a little older, they're just like, I don't want to go look at an ugly house. I don't want to.
It makes them appreciate as well. I mean, we've been in some properties and the girls like, wow, this is really dirty. Previous tenants, for example, I'm like, yeah, like not everybody lives this way, and be really that gratitude, be very grateful for what you have. I mean, even at one point we lived in one of our small 2-bedroom apartment, and I don't, although at that time I felt guilty, right? The mother's guilt that we always seem to feel very easily. Now looking back at that experience, now they're grateful. Like, mom, remember when we used to live there? It's like, yeah, exactly. And let's be grateful for what we do have today, because but it was also was a lot of choice, right? we chose to buy real estate. We chose to work hard and give up TV that year to acquire properties, right? So it was also a lot of choices and action that helped us get to where we are now.
I love that. That's so, so right on. I don't think I could have said any better. It's all choices, right? All of it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for your time this morning. I'm so grateful to have gotten to talk to you and learn a little bit more about you and what you're doing. And I think you are amazing. That's building a portfolio like that is awesome. I'm just like,
You're
wow,
very kind.
you got my brain thinking. If do you have anything that you would like to share with the audience as far as is there any resources that you guys have? Any what ways can they connect with you and find you online?
Yeah, I'll give a couple of things. If anybody's, I know I can talk briefly about about creative financing that I talk about, owner financing. If anybody's interested in knowing more on how that works and with actual numbers attached to it, we have a free masterclass. And it's www.3 as in the number 3, so 3secretstrategies.com. So they can check that out. So 3secretstrategies.com. And otherwise, we're all over social media. So we're on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. And our username is always Investor Mel Dave. So you can follow us on any platform as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much.
Thanks, Melissa. It's been great speaking with you.
Yes.